This is a 1998 Lincoln Towncar, and the blend door actuator is back behind this piece of ductwork here, and it's right back in there. What you do is you remove the two screws right here and two screws right here back behind this piece. Then you can access the actuator. Now that you've got the ductwork out of the way, you can actually access the actuator. Right there is where it sits, and I've already taken it out, so I will go ahead and take a photograph of it too after I get it back in. But if you'll notice on that piece, where you get that clicking noise is the actual door itself, where the actuator fits in, actually breaks. It's made of plastic, and that's what gives you a clicking noise. The actuator just keeps turning. So we're going to fix that in a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that. Like I said, we're going to fix that in a little bit. That piece right there, see how it's busted? We're going to fix that so you don't have to remove everything else, like the entire ductwork, including the heater core to get in and put a new door in it, which will just break again anyway. We're going to fix it in a way it doesn't do that. Okay, here's what the actuator actually looks like. That's the old one. Here's the new one. And if you're anything like me, you probably went ahead and bought the actuator without testing your old one. Come to find out mine was actually good. It was the piece that I'd shown you that was broken earlier. Anyway, I got one. I picked it up locally for about $28. I think it was like 30 bucks after tax. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to take a number 6 hose clamp. So number 6 hose clamp. And that's what it looks like, a number 6 hose clamp. So we're going to take that number 6 hose clamp and we're going to put it right around that shaft receiver right there on that door. Now we have the hose clamp, we have it right around the shaft for the blend door. And if you'll notice, if you can see it, I actually have it on there loose. So we want to have it on there loose at first, and we'll tighten it up later. So right now, it's going to be loose. It's going to be sitting on there loose. That will help us actually get the actuator in there. Then we will clamp it later and make it tight. Okay, something I wanted to point out. Now that shaft we're looking at right there only moves about 25 or 30 degrees. Doesn't move that much. And there's the shaft from the actuator has a 3 corners are flat and 1 corner is curved. You want to make sure how that curved piece is right there at the end of that. So the curved piece will be pointing toward the passenger fender or toward the passenger door. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that that's there, but the main thing is to make sure that that side of the actuator is actually pointing in the same direction. Because that actuator will actually spin 360. So you may have to turn it, and the way you turn it is by bench testing it, actually plugging it back in on the plug-in back there. The plug-in that came with it, you know, the one that you hook it into normally. So let me get back in there and get that plug-in. You may have to plug back into that plug-in, and then go ahead and turn the actuator so it gets points to where you want to point to. Let me see if I can get that. Wait a second, I can show you that. Okay, the actuator on 1998 Lincoln actually sits in like here, right here where my pinky is. That's your plug-in. That's the way it sits. So remember, in this case, we want the rounded part of the actuator shaft to actually point toward where that label is. So when you turn it over, then the concave part would point toward this label, and as you can see, I hope you can, it actually does. The curved part of that shaft is actually pointing toward this, motor housing. When you turn it over, you'll see that's the label, pointing to the label, and that's how we'll stick the shaft down in there. Now, as you can see, you got the actuator back in. Now, what I do is I put it in. You kind of see if I can get this in front of it. The shaft, I tilt it in like this, and then twist it into place. So put in the shaft, kind of get it in the hole, and then kind of push into place. Then you can kind of force it under that frame there. Anyway, now we got it on. The clamp is still loose. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to tighten that clamp down. I'm going to slide it up a little bit and put it about halfway up. That shaft's about an inch long sticking out of there, and I'm going to tighten it up. Once that's done, and you put the screws back in, that will be better than it ever was. It'll be just like having a metal shaft there. I hope this helps some people, because I know what it's like. Because if you would have changed the actuator and not solved that was broken, and it will break eventually, then you would put it all back together and find out it still does the same thing. So I hope this helps some people, and good luck. Oh, and I guess before I close this out, I want to remind everybody to make sure you plug it back in and bench test it to make sure that it's going back and forth. And you do that by plugging that back in. Then you would simply make sure the unit climate control is plugged in. You would simply turn the key on, and you can turn the climate all the way up to 90 and all the way down to 60. And that door, you should watch that door open and close. And again, thank you for watching the video, and I hope this helps a few people. Okay, now once you have it bolted back in and you have your clamp, you can see the clamp there in the middle, and plug it back in, now you want to bench test it. So you want to hook your negative cable back up, turn your key on, and see how it moves. It just moved to let the heat or air conditioning on. Now turn on the system, see how it's going back and forth. It's trying to figure out where it's supposed to be, and that's normal for it to do that. It switch back and forth. Now I've turned it on auto. I put it down to the floor level, and I've turned the temperature up to 90 degrees. Now I'll take it down to 60 degrees. This thing should go back and forth, even though the vehicle's not warmed up yet. But the main thing is, if you notice, it's not popping anymore. There you go. Now 60, see how it rotates back to shut off the air conditioner and to turn on the heat. That's at 60. Now I'll take it back up to 90. See it switch back the other way. And then take it down to 60. And what you're doing is trying to keep it from popping. There it goes back the other direction. So everything's working properly. We'll shut it off, disconnect the cable,